Hey, so I know I haven't done a spicy take Sunday for a while, and I was talking to God about it, and while playing with Feeny. Want to say hi, Feeny? He's like, Mom, come play with me. Like, okay, I said hi. Now will you come play? Alright, so I'm gonna be playing with him as usual while doing this. But so I was talking to God about it, and I was thinking about how there are a lot of people in the Bible that don't get as much recognition. And I started thinking about the women in the Bible, like Ruth and Tamara and Dinah and Rahab. And I realized that a lot of those women, Deborah, while they are amazing, they're not. Some of the stories are very, very tragic. So I didn't want to start on something like that. So instead, I started thinking about the weird stories. You know, the stories that you read, at least this is what I did. I don't know about you guys. But the stories that you read when your mom tells you, hey, you're in trouble, go read in your room. Better yet, read the Bible. And she thinks that you're reading something like Psalms and meditating on God, and you're really reading about Ehud and how he's left-handed and stabbed someone for God to get the Israelites out of their occupation. If you're curious about that story, it's amazing. And I don't have my Bible with me today. I actually left it somewhere. So I looked it up on blueletterbible.com because I'm old enough to know what that is. Hee hee. And so it is in Judges 3. Basically, the story is that starting in 3:12, the Israelites screwed up and they started doing evil in the sight of God again. And so the Moabites took over, and God allowed them to be oppressed for a while. And then the people cried out and said, hey, could you help us? And he was like, sure. So he sent Ehud. Now this is obviously the abbreviated Donna version. Go to Judges 3 and actually read it. But he went over to King Eglon, that was the king's name, of the Moabites, and he used a double-edged dagger that was about a foot long and strapped to his right thigh, came in hidden under his clothing because he was left-handed. So he had to go. Wait, no, that's right-handed. There you go. Anyways, so he did this, and he told Eglon that he had a secret message for you. So he sent everybody from the room, and Ehud is strapped on his thigh with his sword, and he sent everybody out of the room, and he walked up to the king as King Eglon rose from his seat. Let's see, it says Judges. So I'm gonna start Judges 3:20. Guys, so this is what happened, verbatim from the Bible. Alright. Ehud walked over to Eglon, who was sitting alone in a cool upstairs room. And Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. As King Eglon rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand and pulled the dagger strap to his right thigh and plunged it into the king's belly. The dagger went so deep that the handle disappeared beneath the king's fat. So Ehud did not pull out the dagger, and the king's bowels were emptied. Then Ehud closed and locked the doors of the room and escaped down the latrine. After Ehud was gone, the king's servants returned and found the doors to the upstairs room locked. They thought he might be using the latrine in the room, so they waited. When the king didn't come out after a long delay, they became concerned and got a key. And when they opened the doors, they found their master dead on the floor. While the servants were waiting, Ehud escaped passing the stone idol was on his way to Sarah. Then he led a rebellion and kicked out the Moabites. So what's amazing to me about this story is how God not only chose to validate someone who is left-handed, because when I was a kid, or at least I guess when my parents were kids, a lot of people who were left-handed, they acted like they were of the devil or something, which is crazy because Ehud literally was left-handed and was doing good work for God. And he went on to lead the Israelites for many years, and do great things. So I was also thinking about like how people think like the Bible is boring and how they don't. So we've got left-handed people stabbing kings, literally and escaping down latrines and leading rebellions. We also have David's mighty men who would stand in different various fields of like wheat and lentils. These are in 1 Chronicles 11 and 2 Samuel 23. And they would follow lions into pits and kill them in snowstorms, stand in fields of food, and kill like over 100 enemies by themselves when all their buddies left them to die. And they're like, nah, bro, I got this, and killed all of their enemies. Like, there were 30 of them. It is sad that Uriah the Hittite ended up being one of the mighty men. I realized that today. So that just makes the betrayal of David even worse. But I digress. If you don't want more about that, just look up David and Bathsheba. I'll leave it at that. But he had the 3 main dudes and his mighty men who were, let's see, Jashobeam the Hakamonite, who is the leader of the 3, and he once used his spear to kill 800 enemy warriors in battle. Another dude was Eleazar, son of Dodai, and he and David stood together against an army and kicked butt. And then there was Shammah, son of Agi, who, like I said, he stood in a field full of lentils and drove the enemy back. The last story that I want to highlight, although those are all amazing, is the time where God made a donkey talk. In Numbers 23 through 24, actually it's 25, this king of the Moabites again, Balak, Amorite king. Wait, no. And then Israel traveled to the plains of Moab and camped along the Jordan, across from Jericho. And now Balak, son of Zippor, saw what Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was terrified. So Moab is again picking on God's people. And so they hired a heathen sorcerer, a divinator named Balaam. And God told Balaam, don't go. And Balaam still chose to go. And he puts an angel in Balaam's path. And the poor donkey gets beaten 3 times before God's like, dude, talk to him. And so the donkey's like, have I ever done this to you before? Why are you beating me? And Balaam's like, no, you haven't, so I don't know why I'm so mad. And then God opened Balaam's eyes, and there's an angel. And then Balaam still decides to go and try to curse Israel 3 times, and God just blesses him 3 times. So, if you ever think of the Bible as boring, just read from Judges to the end of Chronicles. You won't be disappointed. Got some good stuff. Love you guys. Bye.